Hello everyone and welcome to Facebook Live. I'm going to share with you tonight a card that I've made actually a little while ago using some of our designer series paper. Let me just find this for you. So the paper I'm using are the Artisan Sketched Garden designer series paper, which I've shown you these before, but they are just your black and white awesome images to cut out, of course, so and color and cut out, along with some of the pattern papers there on the reverse side that are really good for anything with your background. Okay, let me oh, there we go, put that onto mute. Okay, so these are the papers I'm using. I've shared cards with these, and I think I've probably done Facebook Live with these as well, because they are a really great paper to use. So this is from the May to August catalogue. So this paper is going to be available at least until the end of the month, possibly a bit longer. But if you love this paper, now is the time to get your order in. We also have a designer series paper and cardstock sale. I will do a list up of what's included with their new pricing and share that with you fairly soon. The designer series paper and cardstock sale is on until the end of the month. Okay, next I want to share with you the new catalogue. This is September to December. So I can't show you the inside yet because it hasn't gone live just yet. However, I can share with you the cover. So this is the next new catalogue. Got some amazing Christmas stuff, including all the products you see here to make a really nice advent calendar. Okay, so let me share with you the card that I'm going to be making with you tonight. So here it is here. So as I mentioned, it's using the Artisan Sketched Garden designer series paper, and I have coloured and cut out the images. So let me go through and share with you the products needed to create this card. I'm looking a bit skew with there, or everything's looking a little bit crooked. Anyway, I'm hoping that that little bit of an adjustment has made a touch of difference. Maybe a little more. Okay, so envelope, which I don't need. I have got, of course, the card base, which is, I'm struggling here. My apologies, it's all looking a little bit crooked. I think that's a little better. Okay, I'll see how that goes. Okay, so I have my half sheet of thick white cardstock. I have 2 pieces of gorgeous grape, and this is not a colour that I've used a lot of, so so it's nice to just have a bit of a dabble with some of the different colours. Okay, I'm still playing around a little bit trying to get this just to look a little bit straighter. So the measurements on this is 10 centimetres by 14.4. I have 2 pieces of white cardstock. These measured 9.5 by 13.9, and I have ahead of time embossed 1 piece using, still trying to get my phone a little bit straighter, using the Lovely Stripes 3D embossing folder. So so I did that ahead of time just so I don't have to bring my big cut and emboss machine over. So that is Lovely Stripes. Okay, I have a piece of white cardstock, and this one measures, let me grab a ruler, 9 centimetres by 8, and that is what I'm going to be stamping my sentiment on and then cutting it out using the dies from Forever Florals. Okay, I think I've almost got this straight. I don't think I have quite, but I'm going to try not to let it annoy me too much. Okay, so one of the dies, I'll be using this one here to cut out the sentiment. And my sentiment has come from a family celebration stamp set. So I'll be using a couple of stamps. I'll be using Happy Birthday and then adding the friend in. And ink I'm using is Gorgeous Grape, which coordinates with the colours. To do my colouring, let me just share with you, I've got some colouring to do on my flowers, which I've just cut those from the Designer Series paper. I've got 3 little pearls, and which I think I've just flicked somewhere. Okay, and I've also got a piece of white baker's twine, and I did have my pearls here, but there they are. They did flick. There they are there. And a piece of baker's twine. Okay, so let's get started with this. To begin with, I am going to be doing some colouring, and I'm going to try and do this as quick as possible, just so that it doesn't take too much of your time. So I'm using watercolour pencils and also one of the blender pens as well. So let me grab out, I'll use some Old Olive. I will use some Melon Mumbo, and when I find the purple, Gorgeous Grape. So I'm only using, actually I've got 4 colours there. I'm also going to do some Balmy Blue, which is that little bit of blue on it that gives it a little pop of colour. Okay, I need to just stand up and sort this out and see if I can get it looking a little bit straighter. I don't think it's helping much. Okay, I think that's better. Or I think I'm going to try to ignore it. Yeah, certainly not one of my superpowers when something isn't nice and straight. Okay. Hi, Debbie. Thank you for joining me. Okay, I'm just getting sorted here. All right, so I am going to be doing the colouring, as mentioned, using the watercolour pencil. So with my flowers, I'm just going to do a little bit of shading with the pink first. And I'll hold it up a little in just a moment. So it's not perfectly coloured because I've got the blender pen to be able to go over it, which will even the colouring or the colour out and move it around a little bit. So I'm going to do all of my flowers at one time, making sure I'm not actually colouring in any leaves that are pink. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, next I've got my purple. I've missed a couple of flowers, I think. What have we got here? It's a couple more flowers. And that's what I found with this paper. I need to go back and have another look at the flowers to make sure I get them all. With the purple, I'm just going to go in and add some over the top, and I'll do some blending with my blender pen in just a little while. And then that pink and purple will blend together quite nicely. And the other piece as well. And I am going to be doing this as quickly as I can. Normally I'd probably take a little bit more time to do my colouring and get it blended in nicely, but colouring, even though it's enjoyable, does not have to take too much time. Hi Martha, thank you for joining me. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so next, some blue. As I mentioned, the blue is just adding a little pop of colour. little bit there. Oh, I've missed some. Let me think. I'm not sure. That could be a petal there. I'm going to colour it pink. And also I've got some old olive for my leaves. As I mentioned, normally I would spend a little bit more time colouring, but it doesn't need to take too long. I will hold this up in just a moment to share with you what it looks like before I use the blender pen. Get all these leaves. Now these are, of course, the Stampin' Up! Watercolour pencils. Some of mine are very, very well used because I do get used a lot, but I found that these blend really, really beautifully. So let me share with you how it looks. So that's how it looks with that rough colouring, and it will smooth out quite a bit. So let me use the blender pen. Now, so your blender pens are around $23, $24 for a packet of 3. And I do recommend with these, if you've got them, to store them flat on the shelf or in the drawer. Because if you store them up on its tip, how you normally would store pens and things like that, all of the liquid runs to one end and one tip is going to be dry. The tip on both ends is the same. It's just dual tipped. Okay, so this acts as a watercolour brush, but it's not, of course, as wet as a watercolour brush. The tip does get a little bit stained and worn over time, which is quite normal. But before I use this, I need to make sure it's clean. So I'm just going to run that gently over my paper. If the liquid coming out of the pen is clean, then or clear, you know that the tip is clean and ready to use. So I'm going to just do some of my purple first, just to get that blending a little bit, and then I'm going to go in over it again and doing the second card as well, or the second piece. And then I'll do some more blending with the pink. And there's no right or wrong way to do your colouring. Okay, and now I'm going to colour the rest of it. So the purple will blend in a little bit with the pink, but it just gives the colour a little bit of movement. And so with these bigger areas, I'm just doing that in a circular motion. And that way it kind of stops any streakiness. Okay, almost done. Going to do my other flowers. So watercolouring does not have to take too long, but as mentioned, I'm going a bit quicker tonight than what I normally would. Okay, so moving on to my second piece. Again, that's very light-handed. You don't need to use too much pressure with the blender pens. And there we go. Almost done with this. And you can cover fairly large areas with these fairly quickly. Okay, so Tara, yeah, it does make it pop a lot. It just seems to draw the colour out. This is actually designer series paper, so, but the ink I would normally use if this was a stamped image is the Memento Black. So that is what I would normally use, but this is the designer series paper. Let me just share with you that one, which is called Artisan Sketched Garden, which is this paper just here. So it's out of this sheet here, and all I've done, all black and white, so they're really great for colouring and using for your backgrounds. I've just cut a couple of these pieces out of this one and colouring it. So it's not actually stamped, this one, but if they were stamped images, as mentioned, I'd be using Memento Black. Okay. Now let me just hold that up just a little bit so you can see that the colours have blended a little bit more. They're not perfect, but flowers are never perfect. Okay, so just quickly cleaning that tip off, and I'm going to just go over the little bit of blue which is nice and vibrant. Or you could do yellow, any colour. Yes, paper. So it's this paper is not a specialty one, so you're looking at $23 for this packet of paper. It's 12 by 12, and you get 2 each of 6 different designs. So I think so far with this paper I have used it a fair bit, and I've probably gone through, I think I'm onto my second packet now, because I do enjoy using this one. And this is a sort of paper you can use, very versatile. You'd only be adding sometimes just a sentiment. Okay, and I think, not 100% sure, but I reckon that's a leaf just there. Okay. So let me hold these up so you can see them. So as you can see, not perfect with the colouring, but it's just blended out a little bit, and I've got the colours to blend together, which just gives the flowers a little bit of movement with the colour. Okay, so next I do have some cutting out to do, and normally I do all of the cutting out ahead of time, but it shouldn't take all that long to cut these images out. Okay, so just give me a couple of moments to do this, and then we've just got the sentiment to do, and then putting the card together. And of course, with cutting or fussy cutting anything, the key to making it a much easier job is having a good pair of nice sharp scissors. Okay, and these ones are just the ones we get from Stampin' Up. These are quite an old pair, but they are still in good condition, and they do come with just their little cover as well. Okay. All right. Hi, Sharon. Thank you for joining us. And I think, Tisha, I was calling you Tara. I didn't read the name properly, so I do apologise for that. I do have my moments. Oh, I missed a leaf. Okay, let me keep going with a bit of cutting out. With any fussy cutting, you can go as far into or between the images as you like, because this is being stuck onto a piece of white cardstock. I don't have to. Normally I'd probably go all the way in here, but I'm not going to worry about that because it is being stuck onto cardstock. All right. So Tisha, I hope you've recovered okay from and got everything unpacked from retreat on the weekend. I've still got a couple more things to unpack, but the bulk of it is done now. So I hope also you have seen, for people who follow my page, I hope you've seen some of the photos from retreat, because it was a really nice weekend. Okay, so one more to cut out. And then be ready to move on to the next part of the card. Was it? No. Yeah, all sitting in the hallway. Yeah, I've got some of mine on the floor on the other side of my tables. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff just gets put straight back on the shelf, so there's not a great deal of unpacking, but there's always that last one or two things that will sit on the floor for a little while. And of course, as normal, I was back at work yesterday, so haven't quite finished, but I'll get that done at some point during the week. Okay, almost done. So thank you for sticking with me. I wish this paper actually had a set of dies that coordinated with it, because they would get a whole lot of use. Okay, almost done. I think I said that a minute ago. All right. Okay. Done. All right, so that is my flower elements coloured and cut out. So there they are there. Okay, next is my sentiment. So I do have my piece of white cardstock, and this measures 8 centimetres by 9. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be using Gorgeous Grey Pink, which is the same colour as the cardstock. And my stamp set is a family celebration. So I'm using Happy Birthday, Friend. So they're 2 separate stamps. So with this one, it's got Happy Birthday to my. I'm only going to be inking the happy and the birthday, and I'm not going to be inking the to my. And also need Friend, so I'm going to put that one out as well. Okay. And grab another block. So I'm going to be stamping to create my sentiment 2 different stamps. Okay, so I've got my Gorgeous Grape. And I'm going to be normally I have the ink pad sitting on the table, but to ink just a part of the stamp, just so it's a bit easier to line up. So I'm only inking the Happy Birthday. If you hold that ink pad just a little bit up, you can see one of the really good things about this particular stamp is there's a really nice big gap between the words. So, Happy Birthday, which gives you that. And I'm going to be finishing it off with Friend. And of course, all of our stamps being photopolymer, it's really great to be able to see through them to line them up. And that is it for stamping on this card. So the only stamped images are, of course, the sentiment. Okay, using Forever Florals die set. And I love the frames in these, and these are really beautifully detailed. I need to do a little bit more with these. You'll find the die set and also the coordinating stamp set in online exclusives. Okay, let me just move these bits aside because I do have the mini Stampin' Cut machine. I'm going to raise the platform just a little. Okay, and the sandwich for this little machine, you have platform number 1 and the number 2, so the 2 clear mats as well. And I do stagger them, so I've got about a finger width at the top, and then when I put the second clear mat on the top, it's going to go level with the white. That way, with the mini machine, it does feed through a little bit more easily. So this is going onto the platform, and then I've got the die to go there, and I am going to use a post-it note just to hold it in place so it just doesn't wiggle or move. Okay, so that should hold. Second plate on the top. Okay, and then pushing it until the handle catches. and then rolling it through. And I should have taken the paper out from underneath me because it's wiggling around a bit, but that will be okay. There we go. All right, so pop that aside. I'm just going to lower my phone stand just a little bit more. Pop those aside. And then peel off the Post-it note, which just helps hold everything in place. And then you have your die cut sentiment. Okay, we just need to put this together now. All right, let me just make sure I've got all of my pieces and not lose my little pearls. Okay, so folding the card base in half, which this is half a sheet of the thick A4, which is my preference for white card bases. I do like to use the thick cardstock. It's just, I guess, holds together a little bit better. Okay, so for my front, I have got one piece of Gorgeous Grape, and that measures 10 centimetres by 14.4. And I've got one piece of white, and this measures 9.5 by 13.9. You'll find that with some of the embossing folders, as you can see, it kind of shrinks it up a little bit. So to help with that, if you don't like the way that that looks, just run your fingers over it using a little bit of firmness, and that is just going to help stretch your cardstock back into shape a little bit. Try again. It's just that with the more detailed the embossing folder is, the more you might find that that will happen. I think that's a little better. Okay, so I'm going to use some Tombow to stick these two together. And I have found that when I'm using embossing folders, Tombow does seem to stick it a little bit better than some of the double-sided tape. Okay, and of course you get then to wiggle that around ever so slightly to get it into place. Okay. Next, I'm going to be sticking this onto the card front and using some Stamp and Seal, okay, which is my adhesive of choice. When you're using this, just remember a light hand and just that little tick to break the stream of the adhesive. Okay, let me see how I've got my flowers on. Okay, flowers next. So I'm going to sit my sentiment about there and just to line up where I'd like my flowers to go. So they're going to sit around about there, like that. The flowers that I've done look slightly different to the ones on my sample card. It's just that I've obviously used some different flowers on those, and it's still going to work perfectly well. I am going to use some Tombow on these as well. Just then I can slide them in underneath my sentiment and keep that kind of in place so I know where my flowers will be going. So that can go around about there. Because I think the flowers that I've used on this card are a little fuller than what I've used on the other one. So it is filling in a little bit more of the space on this card. And that one will go around about there. Hello, Carol. Thank you for joining me. Okay. Next, I've got my my sentiment, and I am going to be tying a bow, and that's going to stick underneath my frame, and then it will sort of kind of hang out down the bottom here. So this is around 25 centimetres in length, and this is the white baker's twine. So tying a bow with this. And I'm going to leave this to be a larger bow. And I haven't done a very good job with that. Let me try again. Oops, fingers aren't working very well tonight. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. And so I'm going to be popping a glue dot on the back, and then my weird looking bow is going to stick behind it. So I've got my glue dots, and easiest way to pick it up is using, take your pick tool, that will go onto the back, and then my bow will go onto there. Like I said, it's a little bit of a funky looking bow, but that's okay. All right, next, some dimensionals. And what have I got here? I have just got, this was mini dimensionals, and I've only just got the outside frame left of this one. So I'm going to cut up these pieces and use, because it would be a shame to throw out all of that product around the outside. Okay, so getting a few pieces of dimensional onto the frame. And using the take your pick tool, the piercing tool in, just to stab into those dimensionals to remove those papers. All right, this is going to go onto the card front, and we're almost done. I actually might move that slightly that way. There we go. And I've still got the inside to do. Let me just grab those pieces so I don't forget those. And I've got my pearls to put on. Now, if you have a coordinating colour in the Stampin' Blends, you could, if you wanted to, colour your pearls. Okay, so using the take your pick tool again with the putty end, I'm going to slide the pearls off and place them onto the card front. A little bit different with the placement for this card as from the original. It's just making the adjustments depending on what flowers you've got on the front. Okay, so finally the inside. So sticking these ones together with Stampin' Seal. And I think with cards like this, once you've got your bit of colouring and cutting out done, the card does come together really nice and quickly. Again, behind the gorgeous grape, a little bit of Stampin' Seal. Oh, I think I stuck that on crooked. That's okay, we'll live with it. And then inside the card, and then that is your card finished. So as I mentioned, this amazing designer series paper to use, add some colour, add a sentiment, and then you've got a really nice card. So there they are there. I will in the comments, once I've done here with the live, I will give you the link in the comments for this designer series paper. So it's one that is really worth adding to your cart. So it's called Artisan Sketched Garden designer series paper. So that is it. I think I had another reminder for you, but I can't remember what it was. Let me see, what have I got over here? Maybe I've got it here. So as I mentioned, I'm still sort of sorting through stuff from retreat. Oh, I do. Look, here we go. The flyer for the sale. As I mentioned, I'm going to share the link for the designer series paper in the comments. And the other thing I'd like to share with you as well, I do have another retreat in October. There is a chance, though, these dates will change to the following weekend, but I'll confirm that in the next couple of days. So just something to keep in mind is the October retreat, but we do have 15% off selected cardstock and paper. So, so that as I mentioned, I'll share the link for that one. So that is it. That's what I've got. And I do have some giveaway cards, which I've got sitting over in the cupboard. Remembering to get those out and go through and sort them is not my superpower. I'm actually really quite hopeless with some of that stuff, but I promise to do better, and I'm going to try remember. I've probably got 6 cards sitting over there to do a giveaway for next week, so I hope you'll join me then. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Carol, Tisha, Sharon, Debbie, and Martha, and whoever else is watching. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this card made using this Artisan Sketched Garden. After these 3 or 4 months with this paper, you would think I'd be on top of the name by now, but I'm not quite there yet. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Until next week, do take care, and I'll see you all then.